What unfolds after the final breath? Does the self vanish into nothingness, or does it transcend into realms beyond human understanding? Welcome, fellow traveler of the soul, to the heart of the great mystery. Today, we embark on a journey through one of Tibetan Buddhism's most profound and enigmatic teachings, the Bardo Thodol, more commonly known in the West as the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Picture a guide that leads you through the most mysterious and transformative moments of existence. This is the essence of the Bardo Thodol, but it's far more than just a manual on death. It's a spiritual map for what happens right after we pass, an invitation to explore what comes after. Get ready as we step through this portal, decode its messages, and perhaps discover a little more about the nature of existence itself. The Bardo Thodol was created by Padmasambhava, a legendary and almost mythical figure in Tibetan Buddhism. Born in India, he's celebrated as the one who brought Buddhism to Tibet in the 8th century. Tibetan tradition holds him in deep reverence as Guru Rinpoche, the precious master. Yet Padmasambhava was more than just a monk. He was a profound spiritual master, a yogi who explored mystical practices and esoteric wisdom. The Bardo Thodol emerged from his deep yearning to guide not only the living, but also the deceased, offering a path to liberation, even after the final breath. From a young age, Padmasambhava displayed extraordinary mystical abilities, being recognized as a Mahasiddha, a spiritual being who has reached an exceptional level of enlightenment, capable of performing what many would call miracles. Invited to Tibet by King Trisong Detsen, Padmasambhava's mission was to strengthen Buddhism in the region, bringing the country together under one spiritual system. At the time, Tibet was deeply rooted in shamanic practices and the Bon religion, which dominated the spiritual landscape. This spiritual diversity, though vibrant, posed significant challenges for the spread of Buddhism. Upon his arrival, Padmasambhava faced strong resistance from the Bon spirits and deities. But Padmasambhava wasn't deterred. With his knowledge of magic and tantric rituals, he tamed these spirits, integrating them into the Buddhist tradition. This merging of Bon deities and practices with Buddhism was pivotal in laying the foundation for Tibetan Buddhism. Padmasambhava then established Tibet's first Buddhist monastery, Samye Monastery, where he began to share profound teachings about the mind, reality, and the cycle of life known as samsara. In Tibetan Buddhism, death is not the end, but a transitional moment that opens the door to spiritual liberation. Padmasambhava recognized that at the moment of death, the mind enters a unique state, free from the distractions of the body, making it more open to the ultimate truth. He saw death as a unique opportunity for liberation, but he also knew that most people in their final moments would be consumed by illusions and fear, preventing them from reaching this state of enlightenment. His mission was clear: to create a guide that could be recited by those at the side of the dying, or even studied during life, preparing the mind for the bardos, the states that follow death. In essence, he sought to alleviate suffering and open pathways to enlightenment, even as everything else seems to dissolve into uncertainty. This compassion is the very heart of the Bardo Thodol. Padmasambhava also understood that many might not achieve enlightenment in life, but he saw death as the final opportunity to transcend. He offered instructions for practitioners and disciples to recognize the clear light, the pure, untainted manifestation of the mind at the moment of passing. The Bardo Thodol leads us through 3 key states, or bardos, that every soul experiences. The Chikhai Bardo, the moment of death. In the Chikhai Bardo, the soul faces the moment of death itself. This is the transition where the body dissolves, and consciousness is freed from its physical constraints. Once the body's dissolution is complete, the soul stands before the primordial clear light, a brilliant and vast light that represents the absolute nature of the Minda state of pure, unconditional consciousness without duality, fear, or attachment. This clear light is often referred to as the higher self, or even the solar mind. There are many names for this state of infinite peace, but all share a common quality: a sense of totality and serenity. For the spiritual practitioner, this moment offers the potential for final liberation. If the soul can recognize the clear light as part of its true nature, it achieves immediate liberation, nirvana, without needing to pass through the other bardos. This recognition doesn't depend on rituals or doctrines. It's a direct experience of the truth, where the mind sees itself in its purest form, free from all filters. In this moment, all conditioning, karma, and identities dissolve. However, for those unprepared, the clear light can be overwhelming and frightening. The soul, instead of recognizing it as its true nature, might perceive it as a threat, retreating due to fear or attachment to the familiar. It is a pure state of psychic manifestation, where everything is amplified. The visions that arise resemble dreams, but unlike ordinary dreams, they carry a striking clarity and vividness. This occurs because the mind, now free from the body, experiences its internal energies in an unfiltered way. Everything that was repressed and accumulated emerges with an almost tangible intensity. These visions are considered opportunities for learning and enlightenment, as each one represents an aspect of the self that needs integration or transcendence. Those who maintain full awareness during this bardo can perceive that all these visions, good and bad, peaceful and wrathful, are mere creations of the mind. The recognition of this truth enables the soul to dissolve fear and attain liberation. At this stage, the Bardo Thodol advises the soul to focus on the clear light, the primordial essence of the mind, described as a vast and pure radiance. Recognizing the clear light is the key to total liberation, as it represents the innate nature of all beings. It is the sun amidst the clouds of visions, the light that remains unchanged despite all mental projections. If the soul manages to see through the visions, it can achieve enlightenment and thus transcend the cycle of rebirth. However, recognizing the clear light is not easy for the common mind. For most beings, the visions are so real and filled with personal meaning that it becomes challenging to see beyond them. For this reason, the Bardo Thodol suggests that spiritual practitioners train in life to detach from illusions and contemplate the nature of the mind. Fear and attachment are the greatest barriers to liberation. The visions, in their intensity, can provoke deep fear, especially the wrathful deities, which represent untamed aspects of the psyche. This fear creates a sense of separation, preventing the soul from recognizing the visions as parts of itself. The soul may desire to flee from these visions, or, out of attachment, fixate on some of them, especially the peaceful visions, which keeps it bound to the cycle of samsara. To overcome this cycle, the soul must recognize the visions as empty of their own reality. In Tibetan Buddhism, this concept is known as shunyata, or emptiness. The mind that recalls emptiness during the Chönyid Bardo can observe all visions but remains unattached, understanding them as mere temporary expressions of its own nature. The experience of the Chönyid Bardo, therefore, is not a punishment or purposeless suffering, but a phase of revelation where the soul confronts the mirror of its own mind. It is a test that distinguishes those ready for liberation from those who still require rebirth to deepen their learning. In the Sidpa Bardo, the final stage, the soul faces a crucial moment, the choice of its next body, determined by the accumulated energy of all actions, thoughts, and intentions, what we call karma. It is as if the entire previous journey has led to this point, where what we carry within determines our next destination. Entering this bardo, the soul has already experienced dissolution in the Chikhai Bardo and faced its own projections and illusions in the Chönyid Bardo. Now it finds itself in a state of greater psychic density, where the desire for rebirth intensifies, driven by fears and attachments that have not yet been overcome. This desire, as Tibetan Buddhism teaches, is what compels the soul to seek a new body, a new form of existence. In the Sidpa Bardo, consciousness is influenced by karmic inclinations, which act as subtle marks left by actions from past lives. These marks function as magnetic forces, drawing the soul towards circumstances and experiences that mirror its inner state. If, for example, the soul carries a great deal of fear, that fear might guide it toward a rebirth where it will face those same emotions. Similarly, intense desires and uncontrolled emotions create a vortex of energy that shapes the kind of life the soul will encounter in the next cycle. During the Sidpa Bardo, the soul experiences a series of visions associated with the rebirth process. These visions often include images of couples in union, a metaphor for the creation of new life. Here, the soul is called to choose a new body, unconsciously guided by emotional tendencies and karmic impulses. In many descriptions, the Bardo Thodol suggests that upon seeing these images, the soul should maintain a state of detachment and lucidity. Only then can it avoid being blindly driven into an undesirable rebirth. For those who can sustain calm and detachment, the Sidpa Bardo offers one final chance for transcendence. There remains the possibility of not being reborn, of choosing the path of liberation. This is the goal of the spiritual practitioner. Rather than being reborn under the sway of illusions and attachments, they must recognize these visions as manifestations of their own mind, ephemeral and empty in nature. Throughout the experiences of the Sidpa Bardo, consciousness feels a strong attraction to a new body, a process that, according to the Bardo Thodol, can be compared to a psychic storm. It is as if the urge to continue existing, to be once again, becomes irresistible. The choice of a new body is not a conscious one. It happens through a deep instinctive call, where the characteristics of the new rebirth are shaped by the mind state. It is as if the next body were a mirror of what the soul's mind needs to experience or resolve. This process of choice also reflects the Buddhist belief that each rebirth is an opportunity for spiritual growth. The body the soul will choose aligns most closely with its karmic and spiritual development. However, many do not understand this opportunity and end up being reborn in adverse conditions, where suffering perpetuates itself. Those who can see beyond this illusion, however, may reach a state where, instead of rebirth, they can merge into the clear light, the ultimate essence of the mind. According to the Bardo Thodol, preparation for this final stage begins in life. By contemplating the nature of our desires and fears while still alive, we become more aware of the impulses that shape our destiny. Spiritual practices, such as meditation and reflection on death, strengthen the capacity for detachment, helping the mind to remain unbound by the dramas that arise in the Sidpa Bardo. Thus, the Sidpa Bardo reveals a simple yet profound truth that life and death are interconnected, and that the cycle of rebirth is nothing more than a continuous expression of our own choices and perceptions. By freeing ourselves from attachments, we free ourselves from the cycle of rebirth and reach enlightenment, the state in which there is no more rebirth, for there is no longer the illusion of a fixed identity. The Bardo Thodol is not just a religious text or a compendium of esoteric beliefs. It is a tool for self-knowledge, a mirror for our mind, and a map for our destiny.